Hi, I'm Jacy Wee from Globe Success Learning, Money and You Team Malaysia. I'm the Executive Director, and you are tuning in to Soul Rich Woman Show.
A strong and independent woman is something to behold. She pays her own bills, buys her own things, and she doesn't let a man affect her stability or self-confidence. She is a soul-rich woman. Are you ready to be rich doing what you love? Be on purpose and in control of your life again. At For Women Who Love the F-Word podcast, we will be openly talking about getting more clients online, getting recognition as the leader and female entrepreneur, and also the F-word, being fabulous, having freedom, and financial independence. It's time to own and love the F-word. Welcome to the show. Hello and welcome to today's episode of Soul Rich Woman Show for women who love the F word, being fabulous, having freedom and financial independence. Today I have a really special Wonder Woman, Superwoman, Power Woman with me today. I've known her for a while now, and in 2016, she actually came all the way from Kuala Lumpur to Singapore to support our Soul Rich Woman event. So I was really, really blessed to have her as one of our speakers during that event. And she's none other than the Executive Director of Globe Success Learning, Money and You Team Malaysia. Let's welcome Jacy Wee.
Thank you, Janicia.
Yeah. Okay, Jacy. Wow. We are very, very excited to have you on the show today because we've seen you come so far. You work so hard. So why don't you share with our audience a little bit more about your journey?
Well, my journey began, I would say, really started to reflect when I was in my last year in the university. My education background is in environmental engineering. And I chose that profession because between two, it was environmental science or environmental engineering. Engineering would bring me a lot more money. That was clear. My path was very clear. But in my final year, I found out that engineering was not for me. I couldn't see the brightness of future in being in that line. And I felt something was just not right. But since my parents have poured their blood, sweat, and tears into investing in my education, I felt that I needed to fulfill that responsibility. Right? So I chose to work for 2 years in the engineering line. And after 2 years, I knew for sure it's not for me. That was when I was in a very lost phase of my life. I felt very discouraged because I wanted to do something about Mother Earth, to take care of Mother Earth. And that would be my responsibility and my passion. But when I got into that line, I found that the industry was out of integrity. And I could literally lose my life if I was not compliant, to certain ways that things was working at that point in time. So that wasn't how I wanted to live my life. It came to the point when I was working 23 hours a day just to prepare for a huge meeting, and I knew that nothing much would come out from it. And that was when I threw in towel and said, no, I'm not going to do this anymore. So I felt very drained. I felt my spirit was empty, and I actually wanted to shave my head bald and become a nun. Seriously. Because I had a senior who became a monk, and he looked like a very happy monk. I thought if I do that and just go down that route, I would be happy. But when I had a conversation with him, he asked me this question. He says, Jacy, are you doing this because you feel like you have a calling and this is something you want to do for the rest of your life? Or are you escaping? So the answer was very clear. I wanted to escape. So he says, go back. Go and explore. Go and live your life. This is not for you. So there I was again, floating, not knowing what to do. And I did something a lot of my peers and family thought was crazy, which I took up a night course in private secretary. So from an engineer to a private secretary, people thought I was nuts. Fortunately, my parents, my family were very supportive. They just gave me that time for me to really think what I wanted to do with the rest of my life. And I would say that was the turning point for me. So I went searching, and one day I thought, I'm just going to dream with my eyes open with anything that could possibly happen. And I dreamt about my dream job. And that would be, there's no office politics. I could have opportunities to learn and grow and travel the world. It was close to my home. I have flexible hours, and I would enjoy what I'm doing. Then I just left it as that. I thought, that's a nice dream to have if I ever find it. Few months later, I actually found it. And that was really by chance. I was applying again for jobs in the engineering industry because that was what I knew. But then I saw this one ad that said exactly what I wanted. No office politics, opportunities to train and to learn and grow. But I didn't know where it was. There was only an email for me to send my resume to. When I got the reply, I found out it was just 10 minutes from my home. I was so happy. But when I went there for the interview, all I saw was Globe Engineering. And I thought, why am I going back to engineering? So I just, never mind, I'm here. I just take the chance, and I found out that I was actually going into an education line. So my life started to change because, I started to really ask for what I want. And I feel that is very important because most of my life I felt I was living someone else's dream of success, but not my own. And that was why I felt very, very lost. I could take the safe route, or I could take a route that was very unknown to me. Yeah.
And then you found your dream job.
Yes, I did. When I came to Money and You.
And that was, but when you see Globe Engineering, I mean, you thought that you were going into engineering.
Yes.
But it wasn't.
It wasn't. Yes.
And then how did you discover that it wasn't?
Well, because Globe Engineering is our main business, and Globe Success Learning is our passion business then in education. So they were looking to hire people to run that business. And we were very new. It's a business that we did not know at all, seminar business, because our core and our specialty is in engineering. And I went into that business knowing absolutely nothing.
So as a woman, do you feel insecure, like gripped with fear and stuff like that? Because it's unknown.
I definitely felt insecure. In fact, I had another job offer that was offering me twice of what I was going to get from this job. But everything, my whole body was so illogical. The logical thing to do was to choose a job with a better pay and a bright future. The illogical thing was to go into something I had no experience, no training, and giving me half the pay. But everything in my body just says, you should give this a try. And I did.
And it was everything that you wanted. Travel the world, 10 minutes near your home.
Yes.
No
Flexible
hours, no office politics.
Yes.
Hey, sweet.
No
This
office
is very good. I love this.
Dreams do come true.
Okay, girls, let's take a pen and paper right now and write down exactly what you want. So how many years has it been for you, JC?
It has been 15 years since I've been part of this team.
Woo! 15 years.
Yeah, but I would say I started really from ground zero.
Yeah, so 15 years and you started from ground zero. So it's been a long, long journey.
Long journey.
我们讲说万事起头难, right? Sometimes we say that, things we do is so difficult. And sometimes, businesses don't last more than 5 years. But this has lasted for 15 years.
18 actually.
15. Okay, 18. So how many lives have you guys transformed?
Well, I think by the thousands. And the lives that we impact influences their own inner circle, their family, and their own teams. So that's what I love to see happen. And actually, when I first joined Globe Success, like you said, I was very insecure. I knew nothing, and I was thrown into sales and marketing. And I'm a person who is very introverted. I don't like meeting people. And I hated sales. Hated it to the core. And it was a huge struggle for me to really get out of my comfort zone. But I'm someone who, when I have a goal to achieve, no matter what, I'm going to achieve it. Even though I'm going to struggle, I'm going to kick and scream all the way.
Yeah, but a lot of women, when we meet with insecurities or when we're gripped with fear and limiting beliefs, it's often very hard to just overcome that noise in between the 2 years. I mean, how did you manage that? I mean, you wouldn't have the skills or wouldn't know anything, or was it something you studied before that helped you?
Actually, when I joined Globe Success and I was exposed to the Money and You community, that was the biggest support for me. I learned that I wasn't alone. I'm a very independent woman, right? And I would work for my own money. I wouldn't depend on anyone, to earn my keep. And I felt for a very long time I had to work very, very hard in order to achieve something. And I struggled a lot, right? But I was very blessed because when I came to this community, I had a lot of support. And one of the earliest support was from Dame Wendy Tan, who's the CEO of the Globe Engineering Company, and also Terence Tan. And we've been business partners since then, The one thing that he said to me before I attended Money and You was, Jacy, you deserve so much more in life, but you're not getting it. Why? That really hit me. I thought that I had reached a certain level of success, but when he said that, it landed. Like he knew something that I didn't know, and yet it was there, that I was in denial to face. So my first few years of being exposed to personal development is about self-love. Because I discovered I had such low self-esteem, but I was trying to look like a high flyer. So I had to prove something to myself or to the world. And that was my biggest struggle. So when I started loving myself, I was single for the first 28 years of my life, and I thought something was wrong with me.
Are you serious?
Yes.
28 years?
No partner, nothing.
Wow.
Yeah. So I thought something was really wrong with me. I said, don't the men want me? And all the good ones are taken already. And I felt that men feared me in some way because of my independence. Yeah. I always wanted to do things on my own. So that's how I lived my life for the first 28 years.
And then until Terence spoke into your life, and then you discovered that you were in some form of denial, and then you really had to work on your self-love.
Yes.
Wow.
So I say for at least 3 to 4 years, that was my total focus on loving myself, really seeing my own value, and taking it in, celebrating. I just couldn't celebrate. Even though I did a good job, I would still beat myself up. Yeah, so that was my biggest struggle early in my career.
And the piece about self-love is something that we talk about. That's why when we talk about the F word, being fabulous, it's about confidence, self-love. And I find that this is so important because when we love ourselves, we will care for ourselves, pamper ourselves, and not just say, oh, we care for the husband, the partner, the family, and then, everybody else except us, right?
Yes.
So I think that piece is something that I resonate a lot with. Wow. Okay. So when you talk about your journey, I'm just very curious as you're doing, you're taking steps forward, charging forward to 15, 18 years and then many more years to come. What is the thing that keeps you going?
The thing that keeps me going is to get really excited about my life, my future. And in the past, I used to, like I said, buy into other people's definition of success and happiness. And I found that I wasn't doing my own thinking, I wasn't doing my own dreaming. And that's something that I see in a lot of women. We tend to take on the role of a mother, of a provider, of a giver, and you give so much of yourself to everyone but yourself. And I found that my cup became empty. And that was when I said, I need to fill up my cup. I need to have fun. I need to take care of myself. I need to look after my own well-being in my spirit, in my mental health, in my emotional well-being. And this was really, really important to me. And I would say that, being in the Money You community, I discovered the tools that supported me every day of my life. And one of the biggest thing is the brightness of future. If I'm not excited about my future, I'm not going to get motivated.
How does this future look like?
Well, it's exactly what I'm living into right now.
What flexible hours, near my home, travel the world.
I have very simple goals that makes me happy, and this gives me freedom, right? This really gives me freedom to choose whatever I want to do in my life, and it's just simple happiness. A lot of people think that you need to achieve a certain level of success in order to be happy, but no, I choose to be happy the moment I get up in the morning. I choose to create what I want to create and experience what I want to experience. So my moments of happiness the frequency is a lot higher. I don't have to wait till I reach an end goal before I'm happy. And that's the biggest difference. So that's how I motivate myself.
Sounds more like a journey sounds more like a journey. It's like I was just having a conversation with one of my clients the other day. She was talking about how people, like if you want a bucket of water, let's say if you have an invisible pen with you, a lot of people will think from where you are now, you want to have a bucket of water, you will need to draw a road, you have to draw like a paddy field, a well, and then you have to draw a tap, and then a bucket, and then a water. And why not just immediately draw a bucket of water that you can have it now? So I feel that many of us are kind of like gripped onto, in our minds, that limiting box that we kind of give ourselves or that society has given us. And what I'm seeing is you are kind of like, no, I don't have this, let's keep it simple, easy, to grab the thing that's ahead of us. And happiness is simple.
Yes, happiness is simple.
You make it sound so simple,
It
but
is.
a lot of women not happy leh. Why?
I had a lot of help. Like I said, in my initial years, the first 3 years was really going to see masters and mentors in the area of emotional healing and clearing, which I found was really very important. Because I didn't know, it was blind spots to me. I didn't know what were my limiting beliefs. I didn't know what trauma I had in the past that I had suppressed all my life to a point where I don't even remember it. So like I said, I hated sales. It was because of something that happened to me when I was about 7 years old. Someone knocked on the door. I was alone with my brother. And this guy says, we're going to change your gas hose so that it's safer for you. I was only 7 years old. I thought, I'm protecting my family. I let that guy in to change the hose and I gave him money. Because my mom always left some money at home for us in case of emergency. And when my parents came back, I was so happy. I was so excited. I said, I did this. And then they said, you let a stranger into the house? Wow. And I felt like I was so wrong. The thing that I did that I thought could protect my family was wrong. So that trauma I had just buried deep inside. And that affected me doing sales. Because I felt that sales was about cheating people. Right? And I didn't know I had that deeply rooted. When I discovered that, I chose to have a very different decision. Right? I chose to make that experience something that's more empowering. And with that, I started to, immerse myself in a lot more programs about sales, marketing, having those breakthroughs. And really, that was what supported me. I just had to let go of the past in order to have a brighter future. So for a lot of women, that's what I feel as well. You may feel frustrated inside and you don't know what's happening. You create patterns or cycles of sabotaging yourself and you're wondering what's wrong.
And they don't even know,
Yes.
JC. How can we help them, or what kind of activities or tips or advice that you have, like to help a woman who is in the unconscious competence to a more conscious competence?
I would say to have more awareness of what you mentioned, our little voice, right? And we really need to get a support structure. Be with friends or choose a accountability buddy whom you can just, number one, vent. You need to tell them what support you need. Women sometimes just need to vent out,
Vent, is it whining? No, right?
one part of now, some women just tend to vent and not do anything else. And they continue venting and create those patterns again because you have so much energy, emotions invested in it. And guess what? The universe gives you exactly what you vibrate at. You know, that frequency that you send out is what you're going to vibrate at and attract more of. So this venting is a more healthy venting. It's just to get that energy out. After that, you go, and says, I'm going to let this go. So it's like throwing everything in the garbage can, burning it, and just let it go. Now what is a more empowering decision that I'm going to make about what happened? So this is tools that I learned from Money and You. What happened? You can vent it out. What was missing? Right? What was missing? What did I not do that created this situation to happen? What was missing in the conversation? What was missing in the structure? And then what's next? So the most important thing is to go into what's missing, what's next, and spend less and less time in what happened. Because it's about letting go of the past, emptying your cup, and creating a new future. So like you said, like that bucket, that is something that I truly believe. I did not believe it was possible, but when I came into this environment, I started believing it's possible. It's just to begin with the end in mind. I don't know how I'm going to get there. I don't know who is going to support me. But somehow with that goal, you know how much time you invest in telling the sad story of your life and the trauma that happened? There's so much emotions and body language that you feel. The same thing, have that same kind of feeling for what you want to create in your life. Have that experience of already having it. And guess what? The journey towards getting there is a lot easier. Because when we plan from where we are like we normally do, you say, draw the road to get there. We are planning from limitations of resources, limitations of skills, limitations of knowledge that we have now. But when you dream about what you really want, anchor that in all the feelings, the excitement, the happiness, the fulfillment, the road will just open up to you. You find that you start attracting the people and resources that will support you to get to your dreams.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you now have all these tools in your toolbox as you build yourself up, right?
Yes.
Okay. And as you grow, you also mentioned that Terrence and Dame Wendy is also your business partner.
Yes.
Share with us a little bit more of selecting business partners. And also, I can see some business partnerships are really short and then they keep, called turnover. It's as fast as a turnover over at McDonald's. But some business partnerships are really long. And I can see that it has been a long journey for you guys.
Yes.
So share with us, how do we spot a good business partner, and what are the telltale signs that we should avoid?
I think this is a very important question. Not only business partner, your life partner, right? And one of my criteria for my life partner after attending Money and You is that he has to be a Money and You graduate.
Oh, I love that.
So that we speak the same language, right? And similarly for business partners as well, many people send people to Money and You just to check out their business partner. Would this person, the probability of working with this person would be higher or lower, just based on how they show up when they play the games in the room. And one particular game in Money and You actually shows that very, very clearly. So with that, I was like, wow, now I can really see the patterns in people's life and what they create. They leave trails, right? So I look at how long the relationships that they have with their family, their teams, their friends. Is it long-term or is it short-term? Those are telltale signs, right? And there are people who are out there who would just take advantage of you. And there are people who are out there who will support you. And you can see these trails in their lives.
And how do you see? So I'm very curious because our listeners will not know what we're talking about because they have not attended Money and You, right? So girls, if you're listening to this, yes, you have to check out Money and You. MONEY and ANDUYOU. Okay, so go Google that. Okay, back to you.
Okay. I would say if they leave a trail of destruction behind them.
Destruction?
Literally. Yes, like business deals not working, there's lawsuits, there's bad press about the person, relationships that's not long lasting. Those are trails. And definitely you may also have them, because you may find that you are also not, you are the one who is disempowering yourself. And that's why you're creating that to happen. And having the consciousness that that is what you're creating, you can actually clean that mess up. Right? So if you see someone who has a lot of drama in their lives, you may just want to say, just keep your distance. You can still be friends, but keep your distance. Right?
And how do you clean that destruction up? Because maybe some of our listeners may have it now and they're aware, they're looking for a solution. So maybe two tips?
Where I would normally go to, because sometimes I'm still human, right? I still get triggered, I still get angry, and I still do things that sabotages my results, right? And when that happens, you can know by the results that you create in your life. If something is not working out that the way I want to, I look within first. So you always say, for things to change, first I must change. How am I creating this to happen, even though I want to blame someone else and to justify the economy, the bad weather, politics, whatever? My so-called sisters who are not my sisters and backstab me, right? So these are things that I may be creating that I'm unconscious about. But it's just to be really aware, how am I creating this, and really taking in that responsibility takes a lot of courage. So one of the things that I go to is, when I'm faced with certain situations that I would say it's very highly charged in emotions and there's arguments, I'll go to, what would love do? What would love do? What would courage do? What would trust do? And that would just get me really centered, and to really be with the person for who they are and who I know they can be, for that person or for myself. My response would be very different to that situation.
By looking at love, by looking at trust, and by looking at all these qualities that centers you.
Yes.
So you kind of like re-choose your decision, remake your decision to choose the path that you want to go on.
Yes.
Wow. And then you talk about, so you talk about the destruction part. So how do you choose, like, how do you work so well with Terrence and Dame Wendy?
I think one of the biggest thing in working with teams is to learn how to dance.
Learn how to dance.
Yes.
Tango or waltz
Whichever. Whichever moves you, right? Sometimes you like it slow, sometimes you like it fast.
Okay.
Right? And it's really important. So we make small agreements, right? One thing to test partnerships is to make small agreements and see if both parties show up, right? You deliver on your agreements, and that's how to build a stronger relationship, because you're dancing. A lot of people go into a relationship thinking, oh, you are my Mr. or Miss Right and it's going to be forever. No. I say, have an exit strategy for everything.
Even for relationships.
Even for relationships. So when I started my relationship, I also started with an exit strategy, because I don't know if it's going to work out. I don't know if we can dance, right? We both don't know. But the number one thing I find was very important is that we first commit to resolution. No matter how upset we get, I always look at what's the worst case scenario that could happen in a business partnership or in a relationship. Worst case scenario. That's when we make some of the biggest decisions of our lives, and we don't plan for it, because we plan for happy ever after. And we plan that nothing wrong is going to happen. And that is the biggest thing that I see that leads to failure. So plan for your exit strategy, like plan for the bucket, that even though things are going to fail, our relationship would still be good. We can part on a better note and to wish each other success. It's just that because we are not aligned in some of our views or our principles, that we had to part. And I feel that is really important. So first thing, if there's any upset, communicate and commit to resolution. That for me is the key to building strong, long-lasting relationships Always have your exit strategy. Discuss your exit strategy first. So if it doesn't work out, it's okay. We know we cannot orbit together. That's all.
So there's no real like hard feelings, like more like, okay, we both understand and then we can part our ways.
Yes.
Usually when it comes to relationships, there are signs of power struggle between either a husband and wife, a girlfriend or boyfriend, and this is a question that I always like to ask because there are women who really support the husband or support the guy, or the guy support the wife or the girlfriend. How then do you kind of like what you said, communicate or manage this kind of power struggles, or to avoid that?
A lot of times when we have power struggles or things where we do not agree with each other is because of very unconscious beliefs and behaviors. And this may be because of our survival mechanism, things that we have done in the past that has supported us to reach a certain result or success. And sometimes that doesn't work in every single thing that we do. So number one, get rid of ego in a relationship. Really get rid of ego. Be the first to say sorry, even though you feel it's not your fault. Be the first to say sorry that you felt upset when I did this. Because you can have absolutely no clue what you did that triggered the other person because of their past. And you'll be wondering, what on earth happened? What? What's wrong with you? What's wrong with me? So we don't know what happened in the other person's past that you did that made them upset. So I'm sorry that what I did upset you. Have a real conversation, and having that emotional conversation where you can be vulnerable without judgment, without ego, and focusing on commitment to resolution. That's really important.
I agree with that. Yes. So sometimes when we share this with other women, they will counter by saying, oh, but the other person won't understand, what is no judgment and what is, saying sorry. And if I were to say sorry first, they would think that I'm the one, and I'm in the wrong. And then they will make fun of me or kind of like mock at me for the rest of the week.
So is it like something, okay, I had 2 relationships, right? The first one didn't work out, but the second one did up to today, since 2006. And I found what didn't work in the first relationship is because we didn't set the rules of the game, the context of our relationship, how we are going to tango together, right? And this is something that I find it's about creating a safe space for each other to communicate, and this must be done early in the relationships. So when I was sort of interviewing, my mate, and the first thing I says, are you doing this for long term or short term? If it's short term, I'm not interested. Very clear. I'm not here to play. So I said, I am upfront. I set the ground rules. This is not what I want to create in my life, and this is what I want to create in my life. And if you're aligned, we go ahead. If you're not, thank you. So be very clear. Don't just settle for anything and anybody, right? Then you are sabotaging yourself.
I totally agree.
Yes.
Wow. That's a lot of wisdom in there. Okay, the other thing I picked up is you said you didn't like to have sales, didn't like to do sales. That was at the beginning. And you discovered on your personal development journey that there was an incident and trauma, right? So a lot of women don't like to sell. When we do business, because in our community, there's a lot of women business owners. When we talk about sales and marketing, which is like the lifeline of the business, they're like, oh, I'm too busy with the operations. I have to do this and do that. They get so busy with everything else. What would you tell them?
I would say to have a conversation about what they are avoiding. So it could be avoiding rejection, it could be avoiding objection, and then I used to take that very personally. When people say no to me, I was like, oh no, they don't like me, something's wrong with me. These are the conversations that I had with myself. So I sort of had to toughen up in a way and just wear a really thick mask.
Not the beauty
Not
mask.
the beauty mask.
Different.
Yeah, but to just, okay, they said no, maybe no for now, but not no in future. So I don't take things so personally, and I get better and better that, they're rejecting not me, but maybe this product or service is not what they want right now. And I look to where in my communication could I influence a person to see the value that they could get from my product or my service. So I just need to shift my communication. That's why I spent also the last 14 years in Toastmasters to improve on my communication. And there's still a lot more room for improvement.
So what do you do outside of your flexible hours, 10 minutes from your home and travel the world, meet different people?
Yeah. Actually, Toastmasters and Money and You are one of my main loves of my life, because that's where I felt I contribute the most. And that gave me a lot of personal freedom, right? I also don't like the limelight. So speaking in front of a group of people is not something that I enjoy. But I learned that what is more important is something one of my mentors said. Trust that what you say is what the audience needs to hear in that moment. And that gets me off of, I may not look good, I'm not smart enough, I'm not knowledgeable enough to speak about a certain topic. But to really trust what's in my heart, I'm just a messenger. And whatever comes to me is what the audience needs to hear in this moment. Yeah.
And you mentioned that you have a lot of mentors through your whole journey.
A lot of mentors.
Tell us, how do you select, or why do you choose those mentors to be your mentor?
I choose them because they live the principles that they teach. That is really very important to me. They are also very humble in the sense that they would admit their own mistakes. One of the things that I did early on in my life is that I had expectations of leadership. I thought leaders should be a certain way. I put them on a pedestal, they must be like God or something like that. And that was my biggest mistake. Because when they didn't live up to that expectations, I got very upset. And when I started to realize that leaders, just like me and you, are human beings. They have feelings, they have setbacks, they have failures, they have breakdowns. They're just like me and you. And because of that, I felt more connected with people who allow themselves to be real. Yeah. Tell me about your failures. Because that's where I learn the most.
You are quite right about the leadership. Like, you question leadership, like you expect leadership to be in a certain way.
Yeah.
I love this part because because we run a women community. It's quite a tendency to see women not trusting women. Okay, there's always some authority issues and leadership like conflicts. So I'm very curious about this part. How do you even get aware that you have this?
It was actually through a lot of upsets. Upsets, disappointment. I cried. I said, "Oh my God, I've been following this person for so long, but I question the leadership." But then it says, I'm just human. I also get triggered, and what you did triggered me. It was not about you. So I would say leaders who have consciousness of what supports them as well. What supports them and what limits them. And they're willing to share that with their mentees. That's what I would say would be people that I would follow and call my masters and mentors. Yeah.
This is a very good selection point, right? We are not choosing someone who is perfect, although we are all human beings. We all have our own vulnerabilities. So by being able to select our mentors wisely, it can really transform our lives. Wow, this is a really good point. And so do you read, or do you have a favorite quote that keeps you motivated or keeps you going?
Yeah, I shared some of those quotes just now.
Wow, okay, that's a lot of quotes. Okay, so how about some books that you read then?
I'm actually not much of a reader. I'm a kinesthetic person. I like to experience things and learn from doing. But one of the books that I absolutely loved that was introduced to me by my mentor, Dame DC Cordova, is The Soul of Money by Lynn Twist. And this book, I could not put down the moment I read it. I would highly recommend it, especially if you're an entrepreneur, if you hate sales, if you have money blocks. The Soul of Money truly gave me a different perspective on the energy and the intention every time I use money or every time I receive money. You know, where would I invest in the intention when I give a donation? What is the energy that goes through it? You know?
Explain.
Yeah. So it's like some people just give donations to look good. For press, you know, just to have a certain status, you know, or even to have that power, the different levels of power, just to show your power. And there are also people who really donate even though they do not have much. Now, this is something that my parents also demonstrated in their life. They are government servants. They don't earn that much money. But somehow in my childhood, I always felt we had enough. And even though they could, at that point in time, only save 50 ringgits a month, they still would give to someone who needs it. And that, I feel, has a lot more value in giving a 50 ringgit versus a 50,000. That energy that goes into money. The products that we use. Do we know if there's child labor, if they do animal testing or whatever? So when we choose to invest in a company, what are we choosing to invest in? So then your choices in spending your money will be very, very different. Yeah.
Wow, this is good also. Okay, and of all the F word, being fabulous, having freedom, and financial independence, which is your favorite F word?
That would be freedom.
And why?
Freedom, I feel, gives me the opportunity to experience or express my fabulousness and to also bring that out from others. Because when I share my journey and what I go through and the freedom that I got from using the tools that I have, gives other people access to that freedom. Because most of the time we operate from a cage or from limitations. And that freedom is what gives you access to being fabulous and to have financial independence. So one of my favorite quotes, as you say, it's actually my own quote. That's to be curious instead of being furious, being courageous, and being contagious.
Wow, sounds like Fast and Furious,
Yes.
episode 10. You know this one? Jacy's episode. So to you, who and what is a soul-rich woman? Because for us, we call ourselves soul-rich woman. Each of us is a soul-rich woman. So to you, what is a soul-rich woman?
To me, a soul-rich woman is someone who really believes in herself, you know, who loves herself. And I feel you cannot give much to anyone else until you give to yourself first, right? You're not a savior. If there's one person you want to save yourself first. And then you can go out and contribute to a lot more people, right? So that to me is a soul-rich woman, someone who is authentic, allows herself to be vulnerable, supports everyone, not only her sisters, but every single person. And, you know, you have something to go towards, a purpose in your life that would give you fulfillment and freedom, fabulousness, financial independence. Yeah.
Cool. Now, who are the people who is suitable to attend Money and You?
Well, I would say if you are at a point in your life where you feel you want change, you want to let go of what's not working, be it in your relationships, your business, in terms of money, finance, your well-being, and you really want to live your life from a very different level, right? To feel fulfillment and moments of happiness with higher frequency, then I would say it's suitable for you to be in Money and You. But where we really want to create the greatest impact is leaders, you know, business leaders, entrepreneurs, people who want to be influencers, because you are going to create a huge impact in the world. And Money and You is about uplifting humanity's consciousness through business and education.
And Money and You is in Japan, is in Singapore, Malaysia, where else?
USA,
US, Australia,
China, Taiwan. In fact, Chinese money used also in Canada, Thailand.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow, that's really awesome and that's really amazing work. So how can our audience reach you?
Well, you can reach me at www.moneyandandYou.com.my, or you can also call me at +6016 227 0365 and have a conversation, because miracles happen in conversations.
Wow, Jacy, you just gave your handphone number to the world.
Yep. It's published everywhere anyway.
That's quite true. That's quite true.
So it's not a secret.
Okay, so it's moneyandyou.com.my.
MY.
Okay, so this is where you can search for the Money and You programs or talk to Jacy with the number. And of course, you're on social media as well, right?
Yes, I am.
Okay, so tell them where are you at?
Or you can look for me at Jacy, Jacy Wee, Jacy Wee on Facebook.
Okay, Jacy Wee, JacyWee. Okay, this is really, really a very nugget, wisdom-packed, courageous. I feel like I'm almost going to be transformed again to the next level by just sitting here and, talking to Jacy. Having this kind of conversations is what gets me so excited. Every single time I interview and I talk to women, empower women, have so much, transformations in their own lives as well. So, well, I just want to say thank you for joining us on this episode once again. I know that you could be doing something else, but I hope that we have done everything in our power to make it well worth your time. I'm Janisha Alora, signing off. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm so honored that we are connected, and I hope that I can continue to serve you as you build your dreams. And if you love this episode, and I hope that you did, rate it 5 stars. Give us that glowing review, because it will help more women around the world finding the Soul Rich Woman podcast. Alone you are strong, together we are unstoppable. Now share this with every woman who needs it, because this is how we are changing the world, one woman at a time. As always, get out of your comfort zone and go towards the dreams you've always wanted to achieve. For women who love the F word, being fabulous, having freedom, and financial independence. My dear soul rich woman, sending you my love, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye for now.